Hi, it's uncertain why I'm disclosing this to you, but sometimes speaking things out loud makes them seem more real. I am Alex, age 22, living in a charming township near Seattle. I work part-time at an auto shop and am completing my last year of college. My life is ordinary, I guess. I have great friends, a satisfactory job, a mother with excessive concerns, and several small ambitions such as traveling, owning a house someday, and potentially starting my own business. However, there's one unusual aspect in my life. Claire? Claire isn't an old friend or acquaintance. She's my mother's friend, whom they have known for nearly 4 years. She is 46, slightly younger than my mother. Honestly, I think this age difference helped me perceive her differently. Claire started visiting our home when I was around 18. The initial encounter with her was marked by radiant energy, unforced self-assurance, and amicable demeanor. My gaze was inexplicably drawn to her. Initially, I dismissed it as folly. How could I consider such thoughts when she's a friend of my mother? However, with time, I acknowledged that my feelings were more profound than infatuation. I admired her wit, her resilience, her kindness, and her ability to navigate life's hardships. Claire has been married thrice, each union failing. She discusses her marital experiences lightly, as if humorously, not seeking pity. Infertility has been a part of her story, but she never lets it show. I comprehend the pain it must have caused her, yet she remains unfazed. She often expresses that life is too fleeting to be spent brooding over what could have been. This, in essence, defines her character. Despite adversity, she consistently maintained a buoyant spirit and endeavored to uplift those around her. And there I was, utterly captivated by her words. Dear friends, please help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you. Her articulation about life, travels, blunders, and lessons left me unsettled. I became acutely aware of her, noticing the radiance in her eyes when she laughed and the faint lines around her smile. Her grace was evident even in mundane tasks like making coffee in our kitchen. I found myself deeply smitten, despite my attempts to resist. My mind frequently wandered to her at odd hours, replaying conversations and pondering her activities outside our home. Yet, I remained silent. I feared disrupting the status quo. I convinced myself that you were merely imagining things, Alex. She doesn't see you in that light. Don't be foolish. However, one evening altered everything. Claire visited my mother for dinner, a ritual every few weeks. They shared jokes, exchanged work recipes, and gossiped about the unusual. I barely contributed to the conversation, observed her radiating excitement as she filled the room. Late in the evening, she rose and departed. As my mother was engrossed in cleaning the kitchen, I volunteered to walk Claire to the door. My heart pounded throughout. I constantly thought, remain silent. Just say goodnight and leave. Yet at the doorstep, I couldn't restrain myself. The source of my boldness remains unclear. Perhaps it was a matter of growing weary of pretending. Maybe I could no longer endure it. Upon gazing at her, I softly uttered, "You look stunning tonight." Claire paused momentarily. She looked at me, and for an instant I feared I had erred gravely. Then she slowly smiled, a smile that seemed tailored specifically for me. She moved nearer and whispered, "You're bolder than I assumed." I remained motionless. I did not respond. I merely stood there, utterly astonished. That single utterance felt like an opening of a door. Was she teasing me? Did she grasp my feelings? Was it just a casual remark? Or did she indicate her feelings towards me? That night, I tossed and turned in bed, pondering her words. What precisely was her intention? Was this her subtle hint that she reciprocated my feelings? Was this the last opportunity I had to confirm, knowing full well it depended on me to take the next step? I couldn't sleep that night. Her words echoed through my mind. You are more daring than I assumed. What did she mean? Was it a jest, or was she returning my long-held feelings for her? My heart and mind were at odds. For 2 days, I avoided entering the kitchen while my mother was on the phone, fearing she might mention Claire, and I wasn't ready to confront that. Doubts crept in, but I couldn't ignore the inner voice telling me the moment had significance, and that Claire was waiting for me to express my feelings. All night long, I composed a message on my phone, repeatedly deleting and rewriting it as I stared at the screen for hours. I knew it wasn't appropriate to ask her out bluntly. It would be too forceful and risky. If she refused me, I feared I wouldn't be able to face her or my mother again. So I devised a strategy. I drafted a casual message, making it seem as if it were meant for someone else. Hey, are you free for coffee sometime this week? I hesitated, my thumb suspended over the send button. If she didn't respond or declined, I could easily dismiss it as an error, but with my heart pounding, I eventually sent it, hoping for a positive reply. I fixed my gaze on the screen like a madman. Minutes felt like hours. 10 minutes elapsed, nothing. Then 15. My chest tightened. Fool? What were you thinking? Then something unexpected happened. My phone vibrated. I almost dropped it while grabbing it. Okay, let me know which day suits you best. I stared at it in shock. 20 times I reread it before conviction set in. Yes, was the response. The ensuing days were unbearable. Eagerness to contact her surged within me, yet I held back, waiting several hours to avoid coming off as desperate. We settled on a weekend afternoon rendezvous at a quaint coffee shop nestled between two towns, where no one from our neighborhood could recognize us. The appointed day arrived and I was early. Nervously tapping my fingers against the coffee cup, I sat by the window, each car that pulled into the parking lot causing apprehension. What if she changed her mind? What if this entire scenario was a massive blunder? But then I saw her. Clad in jeans and a casual top, Claire emerged from her car, as beautifully casual as ever. She looked over and spotted me, instantly smiling. That familiar, comforting smile that had been plaguing my dreams all week. She sat opposite me, casually pushing a lock of hair behind her ear. Were you considering it? She playfully questioned. I returned a tentative smile, my hands growing clammy. I was uncertain if you'd appear. She fixed her gaze on mine. I knew I would. I merely wanted confirmation if you intended to propose the question. I let out an uncomfortable chuckle, feeling both relieved and apprehensive. The conversation progressed slowly. We touched upon safe subjects like the weather during our first day at school. I shared with her that I was near completion of my degree and working in business. She talked about her newfound hobby, photography, but after around 20 minutes, she leaned slightly towards me and asked, "Don't you think I hadn't noticed your glances?" I stiffened, blushing deeply. "What do you mean?" She offered a soft, non-mocking smile, instead one of understanding. "Alex, women have a knack for these things. You can't conceal it from us. I've known for quite some time." I swallowed nervously. My heart thumped in my ears. She gently waved her hand to silence me. "You didn't cross any lines. That's why I never mentioned it. I didn't want to make things awkward for you or create complications between myself and your mother. But here I am, aren't I?" I was speechless, my mind drawing a blank as the moment I had imagined played out. I had prepared numerous responses if this day came, but now I couldn't find the words. Eventually, I confessed, "I genuinely like you, Claire. I have for quite some time." Her face softened and she gently touched my hand across the table. "I know Alex likes you too. We both think you're wonderful, genuine, and brave. We sat peacefully, smiling at each other. For the first time in years, the tension between us was gone. It was no longer a secret lurking beneath the surface. It was real. Stepping out of the coffee house, she halted and fixed me with a solemn gaze. I'm not making any promises. This is uncharted territory for us. We should tread carefully, but if you're on board, I'd be open to exploring where this might take us. I responded promptly. I am, she confirmed, returning my smile. Excellent. Then let's proceed day by day. The return journey to my car seemed as weightless as the breeze. For the first time, I dared to hope that something significant could transpire between us. I knew there would be obstacles, uncertainties, and risks. But I didn't care. At last, I found myself in a place I had yearned for so long, by her side. The days following our coffee date were the longest of my existence. I could hardly focus on anything, not my studies, not my friends. My mind constantly wandered back to Claire, the way she smiled at me across the small table, the way her hand brushed mine casually yet deliberately. I kept pondering if it was all genuine or a stunning illusion I didn't want to awaken from, not wanting to intimidate or lose her, yet unwilling to squander the chance I'd labored 4 years for. I pondered her words repeatedly in my mind. We should proceed with caution, but I'm open to exploring this. After a span of 2 to 3 days, on the 4th day post-breakup, I messaged her. Hi, hoping you're having a great day. Fancy meeting up again? No pressure, just a walk or coffee. Her response came in 15 minutes, suggesting a walk tomorrow afternoon at a secluded park about 20 minutes from town. Few people ever visit there. My face beamed, nearly causing discomfort. On the designated afternoon, I arrived early to the park, concealed by old trees beside a small lake. Peaceful, tranquil, almost surreal. I nervously tapped my knee near the lake until her car door closed. I observed as she drew near, dressed in trousers, a faint jacket, and bearing her customary warm smile. We commenced a shared walk without immediate words. It was a peaceful silence. I occasionally stole glances at her when I believed she wasn't looking. Eventually, she disrupted the quiet. I nearly stayed away, she whispered. Why, I asked. Because this isn't casual, Claire. You aren't just a woman I met at a bar. You're my mother's friend. Much is at stake. I halted our walk and gently took her hand. She tensed momentarily before relaxing. Claire, I get it, I said softly. I've pondered this countless times. I'm not naive. I understand that this is risky and that some people may not comprehend. But I also know how I feel about you, and I believe you reciprocate those feelings, or you wouldn't be here. She sighed and held my hand tightly. You're right, she said. I wouldn't if I didn't. We continued walking. I then inquired her about her photography work. She discussed her latest trip to the coast, delighting in photographing waves colliding with the cliffs. I shared my school matters and my uncertainty about changing majors. The conversation flowed effortlessly. At a certain point, we settled on a bench by the water. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the lake. Claire stared out at the sea deep in thought. She admitted I had changed since our first encounter. When I initially met you, you were a timid teenager fresh out of high school. I never imagined we'd be here together. I'm glad you are, I responded spontaneously. She smiled and shook her head. You are quite courageous, Alex. Once more, the word brave served as our secret code. We stayed there for what felt like endless minutes. Eventually, she stood up, dusted herself off. I must leave. Reluctantly, I also rose. Claire, I pondered, shall we meet up again? After a prolonged silence, she answered, yes, but with one stipulation. Our secret remains just between us. For now, I get it, I replied. She moved closer, close enough for me to catch a hint of her perfume, and murmured, "That's good. I love having something that belongs solely to us." My heart pounded as I escorted her to her car. As she entered, she turned and smiled. "Text me tomorrow?" I stood there, feeling airborne, aware that our actions might be perilous, but uncaring. All I knew was I desired to see her again. Over the following weeks, our encounters became more frequent. We'd convene in unanticipated locations like a small downtown bookstore, a tranquil hiking path, or even on a drive to the mountains where we'd spend hours chatting inside her car. Each time we parted ways, I yearned to kiss her, but held back. I was apprehensive of disrupting the delicate equilibrium we had established. One evening post-dinner, she halted me on her way to her car. "Alex," she affirmed. She gazed at me beneath the soft glow of a streetlight. "I comprehend your intention." I stiffened, yet she smiled. "Are you eager to kiss me?" I gulped. "Affirmative." She edged nearer, her tone tender yet resolute. "Not just now? Soon, I assure you?" My heart pounded, but I conceded regardless. "Understood." For a while, she traced her fingertips along my jawline softly. "You are more audacious than I anticipated." With that, she departed, leaving me stunned and breathless. I understood then that the connection between us was genuine. It was developing, and I would act accordingly to protect it. The subsequent weeks were the most peculiar of my life. Claire and I found an unspoken rhythm. Late-night messages were exchanged, quick calls made when my mother wasn't around, and spontaneous plans arranged to meet in places we wouldn't be recognized. I cherished those moments. My phone would vibrate while I was seated in class or working at the garage. "Are you free tonight, or should we meet at our regular spot?" My heart would quicken. I'd abandon whatever I was doing just to see her smile again, hear her laughter, and experience the fire she alone could ignite within me. On a Friday night, Claire suggested something unexpected. "Let's escape for the evening," she said. "I know a cozy beachside motel. Secluded, no one will know us." I hesitated over the message, finding it difficult to breathe. It seemed like a boundary was about to be breached, but I was ready. I replied, "Inform me of your destination, and I'll join you." I drove for 2 hours along winding coastal roads, my hands damp with sweat the entire journey. The humble motel stood on a cliff overlooking the sea. It wasn't luxurious, yet it was private and fitting. I parked and remained in the car, trying to compose myself. Exiting, I found Claire leaning against her car, attired in jeans and a chic black sweater, her hair rustling slightly in the wind. She smiled warmly. "You've arrived." I could only manage a nod, too stunned to speak. We walked together towards check-in. The woman at the desk didn't bother looking up as she gave us the keys. It felt like the universe had given us permission to be here, even just for one night. The room was simple, yet comfortable, with a queen bed and a window offering a view of the ocean, the sound of waves crashing below. Claire placed her overnight bag by the door and sat on the edge of the bed, removing her shoes. I stood uneasily beside the window. I confessed that I had never done anything like this before. She returned a soft, understanding smile. "Neither have I." We opted for takeout and ate it on the bed, giggling about how awful the meal was but how captivating the night remained. We conversed for hours about everything. Her failed marriage symbolized the agony of infertility, my aspirations for the future, and the fear of losing her if anyone discovered our secret. As the evening unfolded, the conversation subsided. The room grew quieter, and the soothing sound of water filled the void. Claire placed her glass on the nightstand and fixed me with a firm gaze. "Alex," she murmured softly, I have something to tell you. I've lived a lot, loved deeply, been hurt, and experienced more loss than I ever thought possible. I don't want anything burdensome or challenging right now. All I want is to cherish whatever we share, no matter how brief. I nodded comprehensively. I'm not asking for vows, Claire. I just want to be with you for the time being. She smiled and gradually reached for my hand. Join me. I moved closer to her beating heart. She tenderly smoothed my hair from my face. Her touch was soft and comforting. You're a good man, Alex, she murmured. You returned what I thought was irretrievably gone, a feeling of being appreciated for my true self, rather than the image others wanted to see in me. This marked the point where we straddled a line we had been hesitating on for weeks. We started with a gentle kiss, which deepened as the tension and longing from weeks prior melded into the rhythmic sound of waves outside our windows. I won't disclose what transpired afterward. Certain events are meant to remain private between those who experience them. All I can confirm is that it wasn't about ardor or defiance, but bonding, solace, and a sensation that seemed painfully authentic and fitting in a world that could never comprehend. The following morning, we woke up entwined under white blankets, the sunlight streaming through thin curtains, painting golden patterns on her bare shoulder. I simply gazed at her, attempting to etch every detail into memory, fearful it might be our final moment of beauty. But when she opened her eyes and smiled at me, I realized it couldn't be. We left early, understanding our return to the real world. She pulled me into a firm hug before we parted. This doesn't alter anything, she whispered. We must remain careful. No one can know about Alex. I can't have your mother or anyone else discover him. I'm not ready for that. Are you agreeable to that? I held her tightly in response. I am more than content. I will safeguard our secret, whatever the cost. She tenderly kissed my cheek and smiled. Good. Then it remains ours. As I watched Claire drive away along the coastal road, I acknowledged that I was clueless about where this would take us. There were no titles, assurances, or predictions, but I also recognized I'd never been content before. The drive home from the coastline was prolonged and silent. I didn't tune in the radio. I didn't contact anyone. I merely drove, staring at the winding road ahead. The sound of tires touching the road, as well as Claire's warm smile, lingered in my mind. Our situation was on the verge of growing more intricate. We had transcended an unbridgeable boundary, and although I held no regrets for those moments, I knew our idyllic sanctuary couldn't last forever. The real world was lurking when we returned home. For several days we kept our distance, neither expressing anything. Our exchanges were brief and neutral. I hope you are well today. I miss you. Stay safe. We both recognized the need for time to process the recent events. Intrusive thoughts filled my mind as I pondered how things would unfold if I saw her again. Would it be uncomfortable? Would she regret it? Would she distance herself? About a week later, I received a message. Are you available tonight? Can we talk? I drove to her residence under the cover of night. My heart pounded the entire journey. When I parked in her driveway, the porch light was off. The house seemed tranquil. I sent her a text and the door opened promptly. In casual attire and without makeup, Claire stood with her hair pulled back. Never had she looked more beautiful. Enter, she whispered softly. I stepped inside and we moved towards the kitchen. She offered me a glass of water and leaned against the counter, her arms laden with serious yet tender intent. We need to talk, Alex, I acknowledged, nodding. I understand. She inhaled deeply. Though I have no regrets about what transpired, we can't let this escalate. If word gets out, to your mother, friends, or townsfolk, The consequences will be disastrous for us both. They won't grasp it. They'll distort it into something terrible that I don't want for either of us." "I understand," I replied softly. "I've been contemplating it as well." She moved closer and took my hands. "I wish to continue seeing you. I desire this, Alex, but only if you agree to keep it confidential." We seldom lingered. Our caution was constant. Occasionally, we'd merely sit in her car stationed by the seashore, clasping hands while gazing at the undulating waves. We embarked on lengthy walks beneath the star-studded sky, sharing tales of everything and nothing. I harbored instances where I yearned to proclaim my feelings for her across the globe. I once abhorred the furtiveness and feigning ignorance when she dropped by my mother's residence. Yet, every time doubt crept in, Claire would meet my gaze, tighten her grip on my hand, and say, "This is ours." No one could seize it from us. We never conceived grand plans for the future. We never broached the topic of what might be. We both understood that our bond was as delicate as glass, possessing a beauty and worth, but vulnerable to shattering if unmindful. I remember halting and extinguishing the engine one night following an enchanting evening traversing the countryside. The car remained quiet except for the gentle moonlight filtering through the windshield. I approached her and inquired, "Will this endure?" After a prolonged gaze at the fields, she replied, "I cannot say." "It's been ages since I contemplated Alex. I've realized that life rarely delivers exactly as anticipated. All I am aware of is my current contentment. Shall we join forces?" She smiled back. "Yes, indeed. Then let's just focus on the present. That's all that truly matters, so that's what we did." We stayed immersed in the present. There were no promises or certainties, only two individuals who uncovered a truth under unexpected circumstances. Even now, nobody knows for certain. Not my mother, not my acquaintances, not our colleagues, just us. We are still uncertain about our future. Perhaps someday we'll make it public. Perhaps we won't. Maybe this will continue for years, or maybe it will cease as quietly as it began. However, I no longer ponder the future. She showed me how to cherish what I possess at this moment. Every encounter with her, every shared glance laden with unspoken words, every moment she subtly touches my hand in secrecy, stirs within me the memory of the first time at the door when she said, "You are braver than I thought." The story of Alex and Claire serves as a reminder that genuine courage lies in acknowledging our true feelings, even if others fail to comprehend. At 22, Alex, a college student living an unremarkable life, harbored a deep admiration for Claire, his mother's vivacious 46-year-old friend. Despite the age gap and societal obstacles, his daring words, "You look beautiful tonight," ignited a bond that grew into a clandestine, heartfelt relationship. Their hidden moments, spanning seaside retreats to late-night conversations, underscore the fact that love and connection can flourish without society's approval. The bravery of Alex confessing his feelings and Claire's openness to experiment prompt us to heed our heart's whispers, even in the face of fear of criticism. Their tale underscores valuing what resonates in the here and now rather than shunning rules out of defiance. In a society that swiftly categorizes and separates, Alex and Claire urge us to seize opportunities for connections, favoring the present over hypotheticals. Life's most captivating instances often transpire when we have the audacity to be open, trusting that authenticity will steer our path. How did Alex and Claire's narrative enlighten you about courage and affection? Please voice your thoughts in the comments below. I eagerly await your insights. If this tale stirred you, subscribe and become part of our community to receive more empowering and bonding stories. Let us continue to traverse what is genuine together.